I was working at the city hospital, and at that time, like 1938, 39, things were getting desperate. They were calling up everybody, and my friends were all going to war. I didn't really feel inclined to do that somehow, but an opportunity came to help when the men from the Defence Industries Limited showed up in Saskatoon and were recruiting single female women. We had our own, Defence Industries Limited had their own magazine called The Commando, and there were things in there that we, knew about, and the radio. The radio kept us fairly well informed as to what was going on overseas, D-Day and all of that. I mean, our people were overseas, our brothers, our sisters, our husbands, and so certainly we followed as best we could. We worried about them all, the boys I went to school with. It was very, very hard time.
He was probably born March 8, 1889, on a reservation now known as Shawanaga First Nation, which is about halfway between Toronto and Sudbury in Ontario, Canada. He was found next to his mother, who it appeared had died during childbirth, and he grew up with an adoptive family. He was a member of the Parry Island Band, now the Wasauksing First Nation, and a descendant of the Ojibwa. Early in life, he played in a band and then worked on small freighters on the Great Lakes. While he was a sailor, he was given a small leather pouch that was meant to keep him safe from great danger. Francis believed the pouch offered him special protection and helped him perform extremely dangerous assignments during the war. The war began and Francis enlisted. I should point out that Aboriginals were not heavily recruited early in the war and were sometimes turned away, but by August 20th, 1914, Francis was headed for Valcartier, Quebec, the training base for Canadian soldiers bound for Europe. Within a couple more months, he was in England. February 1915, and the Canadian Expeditionary Force, Francis included, was learning about trench warfare in the Ypres salient, and 2 months later, he was enduring the first German gas attack on the Western Front. Now, in any war, there are soldiers who do what they are required to do, and soldiers who take huge personal risks to engage the enemy. Almost immediately, once fighting in Europe, Pegamagabo was marked as a soldier willing to take extreme risks, and one who had special skills. So he spent a lot of time as a sniper, taking missions into no man's land and running messages between headquarters. Snipers are, of course, chosen for eyesight, marksmanship, and patience. But as a battalion sniper, Francis was also used to gather intelligence about enemy activity: mortars, machine gun posts, enemy snipers, patrols, and defenses. He often seemed to seek out danger, and usually working alone, he would sometimes enter German trenches and stand with the occupants, or take souvenirs by cutting pieces off their uniforms when they slept. He believed he led a charmed life. And he did indeed remain healthy through 1915 and most of 1916. On August 26, 1915, he was promoted to Lance Corporal. Now, at this time, Aboriginals were not even Canadian citizens, but in the war, everyone was more or less equal, and soldiers were rated by their peers and superiors on their courage under fire and their actions in battle. Lance Corporal Pegamagabo clearly distinguished himself there. In March 1916, he was recommended for the Distinguished Conduct Medal. He carried messages with great bravery and success during the whole of the actions at Ypres, Festubert, and Givenchy. In all his work, he has consistently shown a disregard for danger, and his faithfulness to duty is highly commendable. This was the second highest award for gallantry in the British Army. He was part of the first group of 78 Canadian soldiers awarded the Military Medal. In September 1916, he reverted to private, apparently at his own request. He was also wounded in the leg and was out of action until mid-1917. It might well have been longer, but he pursued an active letter-writing campaign to return to active duty and was back at the front lines by May. In November, once again a corporal, he fought at Passchendaele and received another military medal for his actions there, maintaining contact with units on the flanks and for guiding lost relief units. At Christmas time, he was diagnosed with pneumonia and was out of battle until May 1918. Throughout the summer of 1918, he continued his work sniping and running messages, and at the Second Battle of Arras, he earned the second bar on his military medal. During the operations on August 30th, 1918, at Oryx Trench near Upton Wood, when his company were almost out of ammunition and in danger of being surrounded, this NCO went over the top under heavy machine gun and rifle fire and brought back sufficient ammunition to enable the post to carry on and assist in repulsing heavy enemy counterattacks.